we'll go ahead and get started. It looks like it's 11 o'clock. Just want to thank everybody for joining us here for this session. This session's title is Initial Findings of a Food Pantry Client Survey in Wake County. I'm your moderator. My name is Ben Shelton. I'm with the North Carolina Center for Geographic Information and Analysis. Our presenters today are Kelly Sewell and Bill Schroyer from Wake County. And I'll just go ahead and turn it over to them here in a second, but just please use the chat function in the browser if you have any questions, and we'll hold those questions till the end, get those answered. And just a reminder, after the conference is over, all of these presentations will be up on our YouTube channel, the NCGIS YouTube channel. So check it out if anything happens, you need to revisit this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bill and Kelly.
Thanks, Ben. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Schroyer. I'm a senior GIS analyst at Wake County Long Range Planning. I want to talk to you, introduce our food pantry survey that Kelly has been working on. A little background: in 2017, we adopted the Comprehensive Food Security Plan, and as most plans, it's kind of higher level. So we decided we needed a little bit more background and information as to what was actually happening with food security in Wake County. So through that, we decided to create a survey for the patronage of our pantries throughout Wake County. After we did a inventory of the pantries, and we wanted to get an idea of why and who was patronizing them. And that gave us a little bit more of a granular level to what's happening in food security in Wake County. So we started this using Survey123. The intent was to be able to provide links to a lot of the pantries to make it easier for people to access the survey. But we found out that a lot of people were insecure about using some of those mobile devices, and we ended up doing it by paper. So we did a lot of paper surveys. We had some of our volunteers go out to the pantries and do some of the surveying, and then we came back to the office and actually entered that information in Survey123. And well, I want to introduce to you Kelly Sewell. She's been a lot of help through this. This has been part of her project for the last year and a half. Kelly is a AmeriCorps Vista with us for she's done her service twice now, 2 years of service. Vista, if anyone doesn't know, is a volunteer in service to America, and it's part of the AmeriCorps system. So Kelly has a lot to show you, so I'll let her continue on and tell you how this all unfolded.
All right, thank you, Bill. So I'll just start here with the GIS applications that we used for this survey. Survey123, like Bill said, was really, really foundational. Here is a screenshot of our Spanish language survey and our English language survey. It was mostly multiple choice or select all that apply. We had a few fill in the blank options, but really mostly quantitative data. We didn't do a lot of qualitative conversational type of data. So that's kind of what that looked like. We used Survey123 as the primary data collection and management tool. Obviously, when you collect data in Survey123, it feeds right into ArcGIS Online. So we were able to pretty seamlessly view that information right as it was being collected. And here you'll see this is just kind of a screenshot of the analysis portion of Survey123. And we used this very, very often. It was, I don't know who all is familiar with Survey123, but this is basically just like a real-time analytic view of your data. So you can view any question, and you can view different visuals, like whether you want to see it in like a graph format or a mapping format, and it shows you how many people answered the question, how many people didn't, and those that did, it shows you a breakdown of what they selected. So it was, yeah, a really, really great way to just share these results with our team as we were collecting data. And another application that we used quite a bit was Operations Dashboard. we use this kind of similarly to what I just mentioned. It was kind of a way to track preliminary trends, but we also used it even more for tracking progress. And you can add a lot of different widgets. We use like the cards feature to show the counts of our survey. So in the top left, you'll see the cards, and on the left-hand screen, you'll see the English language results, and on the right-hand screen as the Spanish language results. And we just have that broken down by a few of the different pretty big questions that we were asking. And then in the middle, we have a map of the survey results. So in addition to all of the questions we asked our patrons, which I'll get into in just a little bit, we asked where their primary residence is. And so we were able to see in real time where people were coming from. And then also a layout of where our pantry survey locations are. And initially we didn't have like a plan really for like what pantries we wanted to connect with. It was more of just on a collaborative basis, they would volunteer to participate. And then after a little bit, we were actually seeing some gaps in geographic diversity. Like we weren't seeing pantries wanting to collaborate in certain regions of the county. So we really actually ended up shifting our efforts and trying to collaborate more with areas that we didn't previously have partnerships with. So that was this tool was a really big way for us to see that. And so the third, and what I will spend most of my time talking about, is the story map. And we use this as a way to report and share our pre-COVID-19 findings. Prior to COVID-19, we were really making rapid progress on this survey. We were actually about 150 surveys from being complete out of our 1,000 results that was kind of the goal. And so, yeah, and then COVID hit and everything changed, and we realized that any data we collected after COVID-19 was going to look very different because food security has changed so much in the past year. So we wanted to create this as a way to timestamp that data and share our results with our food pantry partners and just internally with the organizations that have collaborated. So I'll demo this app quick and just show you kind of like some of the findings we're seeing initially. Bill, are you able to see the story map? Or Ben, anybody?
Yeah, story map's up. Okay,
thank you. Okay, so this is the story map. I will not read through this entire introduction. It's a lot of what Bill kind of touched on in the beginning. Again, our goal was 1,000 surveys to reach statistical validity. And so we are about 150 away from that at this point. And this just kind of summarizes our progress. And I think Ben is going to share a link to this in the chat if anybody's interested in looking it over later on. Something I do want to mention before I get into it is the data was collected in 2 different feature services. So we had a Spanish language survey and an English language survey, and those 2 surveys are in different feature services. And so this data will be presented in that way. And once we're finished, we're going to combine it all. But at this point, it's still in those separate feature classes. So I just wanted to give a heads up that that's kind of how this will be presented. This first map is really just kind of like a layout of the residence location. So our English language client residence, you're able to see it's really a density map, and the bigger stars are the food pantry locations that we surveyed at. The smaller stars are food pantry locations that we did not survey at. So That's just kind of as a reference. But for our English language client residents, we saw quite a bit in Raleigh, Gardner, and Holly Springs. That was kind of like our densest areas. And then Spanish language clients residents was a little bit different. We saw higher density in Raleigh, South Raleigh, Garner, and Wake Forest. So that's kind of the geographic layout of it. And now we'll kind of run through just some of the initial findings. And I don't know if you'll notice, but a lot of these visuals that you'll see in the story map were actually taken from the operations dashboard and the Survey123 analysis applications that we used prior in this project. So we didn't really create anything new to make this story map. We just kind of used what we've already put together. So I just wanted to point that out. So as far as our client age, we, for English speaking resident clients, we were seeing a little bit of an older age demographic, primarily 51 and over is what we were seeing. Spanish language residents, a little bit more of a, I guess, a normal distribution. Our largest age group was 31 to 40. Client household size for English language residents on average was 3. Spanish language client residents on average was 5. So a little bit of a larger household. I do want to just disclaim the Spanish language survey results was a very, very small sample size compared to English language results. I think total we had about 56 Spanish language surveys total. So just keep that in mind. This is all kind of like dependent on our sample size. Number of children in household, on average, we were seeing 1 child per household in our English language residents. Spanish language clients, we were seeing on average 2 children per household. Number of seniors per household, approximately 50% of English language clients had 0 seniors in their household. About 30% had 1 senior. For our Spanish language clients, we were seeing on 63% on average had 0 seniors, and approximately 10% had 1 senior. So even less seniors in our Spanish language client households. Housing situation, we were really seeing a lot of renters. About 63% of our English language clients rent their living space. Spanish language clients, about 75% of clients rent their living space. Socioeconomics, these questions were really trying to get an idea of why people are coming to the pantry. We wanted to know what barriers they are facing. And over 75% of our English language clients came to the pantry for an ongoing need for food. 20% listed a permanent disability. For our Spanish language clients, they had the same top reason for coming to the pantry, ongoing need for food, while 25% of the clients actually came for temporary job loss. Transportation, these questions were kind of getting at what, how are people getting to the pantry? Is there any resources they need in order to get there, or kind of what does that picture look like? And we saw largely people were getting to the pantry. English language clients were getting there through personal transportation. Spanish language clients, about 60% were getting there through personal transportation, and about 28% were getting there from a ride from a friend or a family member. And a little bit larger percentage getting there from taxi or Uber. So client choice, these questions were really geared towards what do people want to see at the pantry in terms of food. We wanted to know what their top preferences were, and just this word cloud was really cool. It was a way to kind of just allow them to like write in their own answers. And we actually found, and I don't know if you'll see it, but there's like some underlines between the words. And Bill mentioned this early on, but because we ended up, they wrote their answers on a paper and we entered the data in ourselves, we were actually able to see that when we didn't include those underlines to keep those texts together, we were seeing, like, for instance, if someone put like ground beef down, it would have like ground and beef in different text strings. And so that is what would like build that, the frequency of that word. And so we figured out that we actually needed to figure out a way to keep those text strings together. So I just wanted to mention that because that was kind of like a learning thing that we found. So yeah, this is kind of what, in terms of vegetables, this is what our English language clients were looking to find. Spanish language clients were looking for beans and tomatoes. Those were their top requests. For our English language clients, they were really interested in seeing melons and apples. And then for Spanish language clients, that was actually the same top choice for them too. Nuts and grains for our English language clients, they were really wanting to see pecans and rice. Spanish language clients were interested really by far in seeing more rice. Popular choices for meats, protein, and dairy for our English clients were chicken and milk by quite a bit. Chicken and milk, also a pretty big request for our Spanish language clients. This question is kind of getting at fruit and vegetable use and kind of like relationship with fruit and vegetables. About 66% of our English language clients would like to provide more fruits and vegetables for their family, but only 40% say they can afford to. So that was a really interesting finding. Over 75% of Spanish language clients said they would like to provide more fruits and veggies too, but over 45% say they cannot afford to. Client interest, this is kind of getting at, in addition to, because, you know, with food insecurity, that's really just like one part of the picture. Usually there's a lot of contributing factors for why people are at the food pantry or why they are at that moment food insecure. So this question was getting at what other services might be helpful to people. For English language respondents, they were really interested in housing and utilities, followed closely by information on clothes and other non-food items. Really, a lot of these were of interest. Over half of our Spanish language clients were interested in clothing and other non-food items. So that was the top choice for them, as well as health services and benefits. So this question kind of getting at, do people find the food pantry convenient? Some people, about 40% of our English language clients, were interested in different hours or days. Not a huge interest in having it being closer to public transit. Pretty similar for our Spanish language clients. They, about 50% were interested in hours or days, 9% interest in public transit. So those are all of the questions. Again, we found some commonalities between our two different subsets, I guess, at this time. We haven't done a lot of in-depth analysis as a whole yet. We're really waiting to get a full picture of what, what our 1,000 results looks like. We don't really want to do analysis until we get that number. So at this time, we're just really kind of looking at trends. We saw a lot of commonalities between the two groups, though. Some differences, though, were some of the age group differences. We were seeing a little bit of an older demographic in our English language clients, and a little bit younger with our Spanish language clients, a little bit larger households. So a lot of this is really just, it's really just like helping us get to know what the need is. And since it's all geography based, we're able to see in what areas these needs exist, so we can target assistance a little bit better. And yeah, we hope to continue the survey after the pandemic calms down a little bit, as more vaccines are distributed. I don't know if we'll see that happen before the end of my term. So, but I know that people will continue this work after. So yeah, we're really excited to see where it goes. And yeah, that is all we have. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
All right, great presentation. It was really interesting use of Survey123. I like the visualizations. We had a couple questions here. Natalie Chazol, sorry if I'm butchering that. Did you have to manually reformat the spaces in the phrases that were written, or do you do that programmatically?
I did a bit of querying, but I'm not super well versed in programming, so I did not do that probably the most efficient way. But yeah, you definitely could, I'm sure. But luckily we were able to catch it early enough on that I was able to change the way I was entering the data. So yeah, that's kind of how I went about it.
All right, great. Alice Wilson asked, have you looked into public gardens and public fruit trees?
Bill, do you want to take that one?
So we actually do map community gardens and keep track of that through our cooperative extension agency. Not anything specific about public fruit trees, though.
Okay. All right. So a question I had was, so you mentioned the pre-COVID versus COVID. How many responses did you receive pre-COVID, and do you see that being a useful tool in kind of analyzing, like, if there was a change in demand due to COVID?
So there was definitely a change. We've noticed that with a lot of our, so our response in March immediately ramped up students and family food centers, as well as emergency food centers, which were some of the pantries were able to respond in a safe manner at that time. Others may have even closed since then. We really haven't kept up with what is happening in the pantry level, because they are privately run. And when we hit March and we only had our 800 plus survey results, we decided to just go ahead and assemble what we did have. And Kelly alluded to that we would like to reconvene, but it's a new day, and it's almost been a year now. So we don't really know what to expect, but we know we really can't make that leap without having a greater than 1,000 surveys to do some of the statistical correlation that we would like to have done. But we wanted to provide this immediately to the people that were providing previous to COVID, so they had an understanding of kind of what the baseline was.
Okay. So once you get to that 1,000 response limit, what kind of analysis do you, even if you're not a volunteer anymore, Kelly, what do you see in the analysis that you would like to see performed with the data?
Yeah, I think it would be, well, something that, and someone kind of asked a question about this a little bit earlier, partnering with gardens. There is a Plant a Row program that exists in, I think it exists in Wake County. I know in Durham County it's a little bit more developed, but it would be interesting to see where the produce preferences differ geographically, and maybe trying to partner with local gardens to have them plant that produce more regionally and then donate that to pantries. I think that would be really cool. And it would be also cool to look at kind of like and Bill has talked about this quite a bit. He's talked about doing kind of like I don't know how you would describe it, I guess kind of like a business, maybe use like business analytics or something and see where people are coming from, and then sort of tracing their roots from their homes to the pantries and looking at what food resources are they driving past on their way to the pantry. Like when I was surveying, I talked to quite a few people that traveled like 45 minutes to get to the pantry. And I think that's really, really telling, because it just goes to show how great the need is. And if people are traveling that far to get to a pantry, maybe there's a different way we can allocate funds or money to provide people with resources closer to home. So I guess specifically, I don't know, but like broad level, those are kind of things I'm interested in looking at.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about too, demand aggregation, things like that, seeing where people are coming from, travel times, things like that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, we don't have any other questions in the chat, but I just want to say, as a resident of Wake County, thank you for your service. This is a cool project, and it's nice to see these things going on in the community around me. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
if anybody else has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Kelly or Bill. And I put the link in the chat in that piecemeal format. You just have to kind of piece it together. Oh, and here's another question. Sorry. Natalie asked, do you think that this data could be used in conjunction with data that is on what is actually feasible in terms of equipment, space, and availabilities for certain pantries? Example, providing more types of produce that doesn't require refrigeration versus providing other produce that requires refrigeration and maintenance.
Yeah, so originally, and what we would like to do is reconvene with the pantries that we did survey and hopefully continue to survey. And we provided this result in this matter so that they can, we shared the link, but to have some independent conversations around what we found to reinform basically those pantries. And all of those things could be possibilities, especially if we have a bigger need. That's where we may be able to provide some funding resources, or, the county can work towards some grant applications for providing some of those types of additional services.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, it looks like we're up against the time window. So I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Please check out the recording of this if you need to on our YouTube channel. And thanks, Kelly and Bill, for presenting today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the conference and have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.